I've already shown how to program an application Launchpad with buttons that you can click to load a document or to run a program. In this video, I'll explain how you can save and load different program or document groups. One for your favourite photos maybe, another containing links to some frequently used programs. I'm Hugh, and in this lesson I'll explain how to let the user save and load configuration files. Now, in previous videos I've shown you how to create this simple application Launchpad where you can select files, documents or programs in the Windows File Explorer and just drop them onto your application Launchpad. Just to show you, I've selected some MP3 files here, a whole cluster of them, dragging them over onto my Launchpad here, and once they're there, they populate the Launchpad. And I can now, in this video, I'm adding something else. I want to add program groups. That means that I can have more than one Launchpad, so that here I've got my Alice Cooper collection. So let me just save this under a name and I'll call it Alice Cooper. And that will save the configuration, the icons that I've dragged on there so that I can load them up subsequently. Let me show you some other examples. File, clear all, file, load. So here's one I saved earlier, my Judas Priest collection, and there they are. And if I want to load up others, my other collection, and so on. And as before, when I want to launch one, I just click one of the icons and it launches it into the appropriate application. So the new feature here is that I've been able to save more than one configuration so that I can save and load named groups of icons. It doesn't have to be MP3s, it could be Word documents, photographs, whatever you want to do. So let me go now into the code and show you how I've done this. Now, if you look back at my earlier lessons, you'll see that I just defined a default config file. A config file is the configuration of the application Launchpad, that is the paths to the icons, to the files that I've added to the Launchpad. And I just saved and restored that one set of file icons. Well, in this new version, I've added a menu so that the user can save different configurations by name. Let's have a look at this. So you can see that the toolstrip menu here gets the initial directory. That's the directory containing the executable file. It doesn't have to be that directory. You can make whatever decision you want as to where to save the config files. It then displays a dialog and prompts the user for a name to save, and then it just calls this save config method, which I have already written up here, and that just goes through the controls on the form and it writes the paths to each saved, as I explained in previous lessons, in the tag property of each control. And I have a load item on the menu as well, and that does, well, it just does the same thing in reverse really. It gets the executable path and it displays a dialog, a file dialog, to let the user pick a configuration file to load. And configuration files are just the text files that I saved previously. So these are really quite simple. Let me show you one. So if you look at the file that I saved a few moments ago of my Alice Cooper collection of music, and you can see it's just the full path to these different MP3 files. Now, as I've said before, you can save configuration details in different formats. If you've got complicated configuration information, you could save it in XML. For my purposes, simple text files, one file per line, are quite sufficient. So that's pretty much all there is to creating program groups. Oh, the other thing is, when I form load, you can search if you wish to see if there is a standard configuration, or you could save the previous configuration file when you close the form. That's on the form closed or closing event handler. And really, that's all there is to saving and loading configuration files. As I've said many, many times, I haven't bothered for these simple examples to do any error checking. So obviously it's always better to check if the file exists and if the paths are valid before attempting to load them. And finally, just in case you want to see all the code I've written, I'll just page down and you pause the video if you want to see more closely the actual code that I've written. You can see there's not very much code here to implement all of those features. That's it. Thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe if you haven't already done so, and click the bell icon so that you'll be notified whenever I upload new videos. In my next video, I explain how to program a recently used file menu. See you again soon.